Now this is exactly what I'm talking about. You see, yesterday was April Fool's, but what happened the other day is absolutely no joke. You see, for the past few months, maybe even longer, we've been dealing with Nintendo going around and throwing lawsuits at basically everybody, taking down emulators all over the place, removing repos from GitHub, and even trying to sue the US government over the tariff situation. Yeah. They've really gone beyond everything you could possibly ever imagine. But it turns out that yesterday, things got even crazier for Nintendo because in all of this happening, they've also been suing Palworld. And if you haven't been keeping up with the story, don't worry, I'll catch you up right now. You see, what's happening is that Palworld and Nintendo are in a massive legal battle. But the thing is, it's not for what you actually might think. What Nintendo is trying to sue Palworld for are specific gameplay mechanics that Nintendo feels they have the right to, that they own apparently, even though there were many games before Nintendo that had those mechanics, and many other games even after Nintendo that use those same mechanics as well. Things like summoning a pet or a monster, going around and using a mount, or dare I say, even throwing a ball to catch something is exactly what Nintendo has been trying to patent. And things were looking pretty dire for a while. For some reason, the US government was in fact approving Nintendo's patents, even though they were filed after the initial lawsuit with Palworld, and they could clearly implicate basically every other major game developer and every other major game in the entire industry. Basically everything pulling back and saying Nintendo owns this specific kind of mechanic and nobody else can use it, impacting everything. Want to ride a mount in World of Warcraft? You can't. Nintendo owns that for some weird reason. Want to throw a ball? Nope, can't do that. Not in NBA 2K. Nintendo apparently owns that too. They were trying to do everything under the sun, and clearly it was all nothing more than a scramble to try and put Palworld into massive legal debt and then drop the case overall. But the thing is, here's the kicker. Even though Nintendo has a crack legal team, things aren't going their way. And it looks like all those patents that were filed aren't going to be lasting much longer. Because according to Hazardor Gaming on Twitter, saying this, Nintendo's Summon and Fight patent has been rejected by the US government. All 26 claims under the controversial patent have been deemed unoriginal in a non-final ruling. Oh, yes! Bravo! Absolutely exactly what I wanted to hear. Nintendo owning and controlling literal gameplay mechanics by creating that patent is a massive net negative for the industry. Basically, every game that has any sort of summoning mechanic would have to be run through by Nintendo first, and they would then have to control it. This isn't the first time that other patents have been lost to time and other mechanics have been lost because of this. Remember the entire Nemesis system? Well, thanks Warner Brothers. Now that's lost for whatever and we can't use it at all. Remember going around and playing mini games while games were loading on your PS2 or even PS1? Yep, can't do that either because Namco had the patent on that for quite a while as well. You see, these kinds of things impact the entire gaming industry, and it is a net negative when one company can control something that so many other people want to use as a piece of for their development process or their pipeline or even their game, and it becomes a massive core gameplay loop. And the thing is, Nintendo shouldn't control any of this. So many other games before and after Nintendo have had these kind of mechanics before. And clearly, Nintendo should not be owning any mechanic whatsoever, because they also take mechanics from other games too. So in reality, the entire patent was absolute bullshit. And I'm glad that it's being struck down, and it also gives Palworld another lever to go through and keep fighting the fight that they're doing right now. But apparently, though, there's more to the article, so let's go from there. With Windows Central article saying this, Nintendo's crusade against Palworld just got a reality check from the US government as Summon and Fight patent is rejected. All 26 claims of the controversial patent have been deemed unoriginal in a non-final ruling. With the help of our friends over at GamesFray, we've been following Nintendo's aggressive legal posturing against Palworld creator Pocket Pair in both the patent infringement challenge in Japan that's currently ongoing and would look to be Nintendo building a patent army in the US in preparation for filing a legal challenge closer to home. In Nintendo's attempt to, quote, catch them all right, you guys, the only one that can do dad jokes around here is me, but that was a pretty good one, 6 out of 10. And collect a bunch of legal filings specifically designed to trap the Palworld creators in litigation, they got a controversial summon and fight patent through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, essentially trying to claim ownership over the mechanics of aiming an item, catching a monster, and then summoning it to fight in a different modes. Well, back in November, we reported that the patent in question had been pulled for closer scrutiny by the USPTO. And officially, Nintendo has now been issued a stinging, non-final rejection of the patent. Not just a few parts of it. All 26 of the patent's claims have been rejected. Ouch. And that is actually massive when the entire patent that Nintendo is trying to go ahead and laud over Palworld about summoning and fighting creatures gets completely decimated across every single point. It truly goes to show how desperate Nintendo is actually being about Palworld in the first place. You see, Nintendo doesn't want competition. Nintendo wants actual control. They want to control the mechanics in video games. They feel they are the only ones able to go ahead and use these kinds of mechanics in their own game because clearly they don't want anybody else to be competition in this space. It is completely anti-consumer, anti-game developer, and anti-video games for Nintendo to even try anything like this in the first place. And the biggest problem was that these patents were passed without any sort of scrutiny at all until there was massive blowback online. And that is why we're seeing this happen today. This is a massive win for the Palworld team and a huge loss for Nintendo as well. I mean, take a look at the actual infographic here. First of all, I want to find out why the Hunter x Hunter characters are in this patent in the first place, and they're fighting the goblins from Crimson Desert. Look, none of this makes any sense whatsoever, and I have no idea why Nintendo would even make this kind of patent at all. But the problem is the summoning and fighting mechanic is too latent across so many other games, and practically every other RPG you've ever played has some kind of summoning and fighting mechanic, or even catching mechanic as well, and that's going to be a huge issue across the entire gaming industry, especially if this patent was to be applied and even approved in the first place, and if it didn't get under any scrutiny at all. Imagine Final Fantasy, and Square Enix can no longer cast any sort of summon or anything along that line simply because Nintendo owns the patent for having a creature being summoned for you and fighting for you in battle in a role-playing environment. It's stupid. Imagine any other pet battler game having to deal with Nintendo as well. This was absolutely a complete overreach and clearly showed Nintendo had no probable legal basis to go through and even fight against Palworld in the first place. This wasn't about copyright infringement. This was all about control from the very beginning, which is why these patents were filed not before the court case appeared, not when Pokemon first came out, but later on after the court case was applied, after the legal proceedings were put in place, and after Palworld became an actual success. Really makes you think now, doesn't it? With the article saying this, for a patent to actually hold up under scrutiny, it needs to be a genuine leap forward or completely original, not just a remake of things everyone else is already doing. You can't just take a standard gameplay mechanic, tweak one UI element, and say the idea now belongs to you. In this case, the USPTO examiner hasn't even looked at a single video game to prove Nintendo was overreaching. Instead, they've looked at Nintendo's own history. The examiner in this case has dismantled the patent entirely, combining several pieces of paperwork to show that Nintendo wasn't even inventing anything new. Again, they have looked to, quote, prior art in previous filings to prove that Nintendo's so-called invention of this patent was actually just a rehash of what's come before. Oh, that is absolutely amazing. It's exactly what everybody's been saying from the very beginning when these patents were just initially put out. There's nothing new that they're doing here. They just wanted to control the entire narrative. They wanted to say, but we're Nintendo, guys. Don't you remember us? Remember all the great times we gave you? All the fun games? Look, those are our mechanics. Nobody else can use them, especially if they're more successful than we are. So clearly, give us the patent. Approve it. Do it. Do it now. No, It's apparently not going to happen, Nintendo. Look, they can go ahead and they can claim every other W from every other person who's pirated ROMs or made an emulator or anything else like that. But what we're seeing right now is a massive difference. Nintendo is clearly fighting in a league that they were not prepared for, just like when they went ahead and are now suing the US government on top of this. It's actually hilarious seeing all the lawsuits being levied around by Nintendo instead of them doing the one thing they're supposed to be doing. You know, making video games. Hell, they're putting out more lawsuits than Valve is actually getting sued by in the first place. Oof. Think about it from that perspective. If Nintendo would stop with all the lawsuits, they'd actually put more games on your Switch too. You wouldn't be having this drought right now, would you? No, I don't think so. But it really goes to show that the funniest part about that entire statement on Windows Central is the fact that the actual person reviewing the patents didn't even have to look at any other games. They just knew that shit wasn't gonna fly, that they were just doing stuff from the very beginning that they never even invented or even tried to put out and pass off as their own. That is the funniest part about all of this. Somebody who isn't even into gaming already walked by and said, hey, no, I don't think so. I've already seen this before. You guys aren't inventing anything new. Stop it right now. And they shut it down, and it clearly is some of the best things ever. But what's even crazier is exactly how Nintendo got shut down as well. The 4 filings used to discredit Nintendo's claims were Tara, one of Nintendo's own 2019 patents. This patent already covered the core basics of summoning a sub-character to fight alongside a player. By using this, the USPTO argued that Nintendo was trying to patent the same idea twice just to make it a more effective weapon. So wait, the actual person reviewing everything already went back and used Nintendo's own previous patent of Tara, trying to go through and say, hold on guys, you've already tried to patent this already, or the patent's already gone through of the entire mechanic and now you're just doing it again. Sorry, I don't think so. It's crazy how nobody else caught this until the entire internet showed up and said, ho, stop this, buddy. We know exactly what you're doing. I have never seen a company fall from grace this hard faster than Nintendo. Even Nintendo's simps are fighting up against this and clearly saying, hey, this was not a good idea either. But the thing is, there's still more though, because there's even 3 other points that we haven't even gone to yet. Yabe, dating back to the PS2 era. This Konami patent described characters having 2 distinct battle modes, one where they act on their own, auto, and one where the player gives direct orders, manual. Morokura, another Nintendo filing from 2020. This one dealt with how characters are positioned and move within a 3D space during gameplay transitions. It was used to prove that the technical way Power World handles spawning monsters wasn't a new invention either. Shimamoto, this 2019 filing from Bandai Namco proved that the missing link described the specific logic of how a game determines where a summoned character should appear in relation to the player. I want you to stop and think about this, okay? Nintendo recently tried to patent something that people created back during the PlayStation 2 era. Over 26 years ago, this entire mechanic was made, and now recently, Nintendo was like, no, we own that. No, you fucking don't. The actual hubris and insanity of this company thinking that they can control the entire gaming industry because they don't like that Power World is eating their lunch in the Pokemon space is exactly the problem with this company right now. Their hubris, their insane inability to understand or even try to compete in this space is truly the more insane thing of all of this. If only they would listen to the actual consumers that wanted to play their games but didn't want to buy an overpriced tablet, there wouldn't be a problem. Oh, they're a PC gamer, but they pirate our games? Why don't we just put the game onto PC? We can make some money that way. Wouldn't be too bad if you asked me. Oh, there's a competitor to Pokemon? Why don't we see what they're doing and do something a little bit better, or make our own IP actually better, or in fact bring it up to speed and not just pump out slop that every other clown is going to buy every single time. It is honestly absurd that they're going back this far, even going into 2019 and even going back into other patents from Bandai Namco to say, oh no, we own this too. Fighting in a 3D space with other enemies? Nuh-uh. That's ours. Oh, auto battling? Nope, that's ours too. You don't own it, Nintendo. It's not yours, buddies. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And your complete inability and cluelessness to actually go through and put the entire gaming industry to the torch because you can't handle competition is actually absurd. One of the most fascinating details from the report is that the examiner reached his conclusions without needing to play Power World or Pokemon. They've simply said the concept of the summon and fight mechanic itself is unoriginal. This prevents Nintendo from arguing that their specific implementation of the mechanic or how it feels in their game makes it unique from anyone else who uses it. And that's exactly the biggest fear that I've had with all these patents and Nintendo. Them going around and claiming it's theirs even though they didn't make it. And the crazier part is the actual person reviewing it didn't even have to play a single video game to figure it out. They just knew. Now, you didn't do that. Nope, you already had that. Nope, somebody else did that. Nintendo wasn't trying to go ahead and win an actual legal case. What Nintendo was trying to do was control the entire gaming industry. Look at all the genres, all the games, all the MMOs, every other game that you play right now having those specific mechanics and those patents existing even before when Nintendo was in fact trying to make games. That's exactly what the issue is here. They weren't trying to win a court case. They were trying to decimate the entire industry, putting everybody under their legal thumb who they can sue at any particular time and then take every single red cent from every publisher and every single developer. And it would have been a fool's errand, but you can damn bet your sweet bippy they were petty enough to even try it in the first place, and that's the scariest part of all. Nintendo has pulled the greatest trick I have honestly ever seen. They've convinced so many people that they truly care about their IPs or their own property or anything else like that. If that was the actual case, then they wouldn't treat their actual storefronts and IPs like they have recently by shutting down the 3DS shop or the Wii shop or the Wii U store and then locking everything behind an online monthly service to slowly drip feed that content to you that they clearly have available for themselves to put out at any particular time. And it really is a shocking thing to see that someone else had to go back and tell Nintendo, no, you're wrong. But even though this patent was denied in all 26 counts, Power World is not out of the woods yet. It looks like this could still be overturned. With the article saying this, it's important to note the term non-final. Nintendo still has a 2-month window to respond, and this period can be extended if Nintendo requests it. Even when the decision is final, it can be appealed. So it really is a case of seeing whether Nintendo will take this lying down. They can still tweak the language of the patent to be more specific. However, the total rejection of all 26 claims here is significant. It's much harder for Nintendo to amend when normally at least a few of them would survive. On the whole, for Power World fans and indie developers everywhere, this is a significant, massive win. It signals that the big guys can't just claim basic game design concepts and sue anyone who dares use them. Nintendo might be determined, but the USPTO at least isn't interested in helping them preserve a monopoly on throwing stuff to catch monsters and use them in battle. And that is a massive victory for basically every indie developer and every game developer, period. Nintendo going around and throwing their weight everywhere, legally trying to lock people up into specific mechanics that they want to use and really just have a very vague sense of what's going on to control the gaming industry is exactly what we don't want. It leads to less creativity, it leads to less games being made, and it leads to Nintendo trying to create a literal monopoly in the gaming space, especially in game development overall. This could have gone bad in so many ways, but clearly the April Fool's gods gave us something to laugh about, and it's always fun to laugh at Nintendo. Even Nintendo fanboys can see the forest from the trees. With Nintendo Prime saying this, good, it was a stupid patent and it should have never been granted. And every single other reply and quote tweet basically saying the same thing. Good, LOL, get fucked on a consistent basis. Nintendo was doing the worst possible thing, not just to try and stop Power World, but to try and control the entire gaming industry and even control game development themselves. They had no clue, in my personal opinion, what they were actually doing in the first place, and simply throwing their legal weight around to bully everybody out of submission was really the wrong move overall. overall. Their entire patent structure and systems would impact every single game that's even out right now and retroactively, and also any future game being made as well. Using any sort of like catch release mechanic or any sort of monster battler or auto battler, Nintendo would have legal recourse to sue and put every other game developer and publisher in the poorhouse to rake in all that money instead of doing the one thing they're supposed to do. You know, make video games. But clearly this is exactly what should have been happening, and honestly, I'm glad for it. I used to love Nintendo back when I was younger, but the problem is they've turned and morphed into something else entirely different, and clearly they're more interested in not serving the actual customer, but trying to squeeze more money out of your pockets every single time, and also trying to put the pinch on the actual gaming industry and even game development in total actual control legally, which is the worst thing overall. Instead of actually controlling the gaming industry by making better games or introducing new mechanics, what they want to do is control everything on the back end and force other people to not create any sort of ways of competing with them and keeping Pokemon and every other IP they have on the very tippy top. This was not a play to stop Pal World, don't get it twisted. This was a play to stop the gaming industry and for them to have total control, and for games like Pal World to in fact never happen again. And honestly, it is fantastic in my opinion that even on April Fool's Day, the only one that looked like the biggest fool of the day was in fact Nintendo most of all. You gotta love it. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comments section down below. Is Nintendo in the right? Are they in the wrong? Should they stop with this entire lawsuit and patent bullshit, or should they keep going? I want to hear what you guys got to say. And speaking about what you got to say, here in fact is the comment of the day from yesterday's video. With Jackson Void 7346 saying this, I know this is not an April Fool's meme. That's right, my boy, and even then, this video is not an April Fool's meme either. But if you want to see more of this kind of content though, more hot takes on the gaming industry, more gaming news, PC port reviews, Steam Deck videos, and live streams, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during those live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Look, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted with TTS. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Live Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. Oh, and by the way, I'm now uploading far more regularly on my second channel. Oh no, it's Alex Gaming. We are doing a video every single Monday, and it's mostly about just video game stuff or things that really don't fit on this channel. More gaming related as well, so if you want to take a look at it, check it out. I just did a video about Resident Evil Requiem. It's pretty cool. And the next one's going to be about World of Warcraft losing its identity. Yeah, it's going to be stuff like that. But with all that being said though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!